we will go to Alan Roy from Max Planck Institut for Radioastronomy. Alan, are you with us?
Good evening, Eleni. Good to be with you.
Very, very good to have you with us. Very happy that you are here to talk to us about something different now, right? Okay, we get these observations from space, but what do we do with them apart from science? We do something else, right? We can create art.
Yes, and in this case, with this artwork, you can hear the Earth turn.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, I forgot. I'm too excited. Sorry, guys. It's too much excitement tonight. And I wanted to introduce you to our audience. Although we had you with us 2 weeks ago for the Astronomy on Tap on the Couch event, you presented another part of this very nice presentation. It's good to introduce you again to our audience. Dr. Alan Roy is a staff astronomer at the Max Planck Institut for Radioastronomy in Bonn and has led instrumentation development programs with international cooperation over many years to enable imaging of black holes with sufficient sharpness to see the event horizon. So pretty much what we saw last year with the first picture of the black hole. Before joining MPIFR, he worked in New Mexico and India in astrophysics and advised also on telescope design for the search of extraterrestrial intelligence. He is currently developing a novel receiver design that will enable dual use of concentrating solar power stations built primarily for renewable energy production, as by far the largest and most sensitive radio telescopes in the world. And you will use them for science. But we don't have you for this today. We have this presentation by you. It is on our website, so if people are interested, they can go and watch it. It is available. But today we have you for something very different, special also.
This was a special project. It dates back to 2013, when I was contacted by Øyvind Brandtzæg, professor of music in Trondheim. So the story began when the Norwegian Mapping Authority got money from the government to build a radio telescope in Ny-Ålesund. And part of the requirements of the funding was that some of the money should go into the arts. And Øyvind received the commission from the Public Arts Authority to prepare a sonification based on the data that we receive with radio telescopes. And his interest was to give us a different perspective on the world by being able to hear the processes that we're measuring. And he came to Bonn. He worked with me to understand what the data are that we work with, and we gave him some of the samples of the data, and from that he produced the sonifications.
I think you have some slides to show us. Would you like to share them?
Sure.
So we can,
sure. Yes.
We can go through the discussion, and we can see also the creator of this sonification.
So it's the background on Øyvind. I can show you the telescopes that were built as a result of this project. This is in Ny-Ålesund, far in the north of Norway. And the question is, why does the Mapping Authority want radio telescopes? And the answer is they need it as a reference point for making maps. This telescope observes with other telescopes around the world. Traditionally, you would use the stars to measure positions on the Earth. This is a classic application of astronomy. And today, you get much better precision if you use radio telescopes, and then you measure the distances across the world. These telescopes are observing daily with an international network of telescopes.
This uses the same kind of technology like, that was used for the black hole shadow picture, right?
That's right. It uses interferometry, and the objects we're looking at are basically they're quasars. So this is a black hole, very distant, in distant galaxy. At the center of the galaxy, there's gas falling into the black hole. It's getting very hot, and some part of it is squirting out. That makes radio emission, which we then receive. So the technology itself, sketched like this. So you have telescopes on different continents on the Earth looking up at the quasar. The wave comes in, it arrives first at one telescope and then at the other. And the trick is to record the data and then bring them back to a central point where you compare the arrival times. And you can measure very accurately the distance, the time difference in the arrival, and that gives you the distance between the telescopes to a fraction of the wavelength that you're observing at, so to centimeter precision across the size of the world.
So they use these, sorry to interrupt you, they use these faraway objects as standard candles, as we say, right, in astronomy, as a reference point.
As a reference point, yes.
Yes.
So we have,
and what are these objects? What are they?
These are quasars. If you look at galaxies, about 1 in every 100 galaxies has a very bright point of light in the center. Mm-hmm. And this bright point can be so bright that it outshines all of the stars in the galaxy. And it flickers, it changes brightness very fast. So that tells us it's very small. So very small, but enormously bright. And basically these are massive black holes, 1 billion times the mass of the sun. Mm-hmm. Gas is falling in, it forms an accretion disk of material. Friction inside this accretion disk heats the whole disk until it glows. So it glows like a light bulb, but in the filament of a light bulb, but so very large across, parsec across, light year across. So those are the reference points that are at great distance. And the advantage for us is because they're very far away, they don't move very much. So they're essentially stable reference points that we can use to measure positions on the Earth.
Wow, so we can have very accurate measurements of distance on our Earth, right? Or distances within the Earth.
That's right.
Yes.
So
fantastic.
You would make a measurement.
Maps, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
you have to solve things simultaneously. You need to measure positions on the sky to get where these things are and what they look like, and at the same time work out where your telescopes are on the Earth and how the Earth is turning, because the telescopes are being carried as the Earth rotates.
So it's like a collaboration between astronomy and how do you call this?
Geodesy.
Geodesy, yes,
sorry. The measurement of the Earth. That's right. So when we do astronomy, we use the telescope positions that are measured by the geodesists, and the geodesists are using radio sources that we find as astronomers that we find are compact enough for them. So it's a collaboration.
It's a really interesting interplay between disciplines.
There's fascinating things that you discover about the Earth when you do this. So you take measurements of a network of quasars in all different directions, and you can measure exactly in 3D space where your telescopes are on the Earth. And you can measure how the Earth is turning, and you discover things like that there are tides in the crust. The ground is going up and down like the tides in the ocean. They go up, and the ground goes up and down by 20 centimeters every day. You don't notice it because you're standing on the Earth. And the pole of the Earth is wandering around gradually. The length of the day is changing. It's at the level of maybe milliseconds a day. The changes are coming about because of wind blowing against mountains, and that pushes on the mountains, and that changes the speed that the Earth rotates. That's one part of it, and how the oceans are circulating.
That's incredible precision.
It's beautiful. There's a lot of physics. If we go to the next slide, I can show you one of the results, one of the measurements that you do with the telescopes. So this is a map of the world with arrows on it. The arrow begins at the location of each radio telescope that is in this network. And they've measured their distances with respect to each other. And you find over the years that the distances are changing and the continents are moving and they're carrying the telescopes with them. So you're able to measure the continental drift. And you discover things like above Scandinavia, the telescopes are tending to go upwards. This is a result of the ice masses that were there in the ice ages that have melted. At the time when they were kilometers thick and they pressed the crust down. And now that weight is gone and the crust is rebounding. And you can see that motion as the Earth is coming up.
Wow. Amazing. And they use quasars for that. That is amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing.
So I guess you take GPS positioning for granted, where you measure with a radio receiver your position relative to the satellites. But the Earth has got all of these irregular movements going on underneath the satellites. And if you didn't measure it and keep track of the changes, you'd be off by hundreds of meters in a year. So if you could imagine being in an aircraft on final approach, if you're navigating by GPS, trying to land on the runway, and the runway has moved by 150 meters.
Oops.
So,
I don't want to imagine that.
So it's really important, and this network of telescopes is constantly monitoring the rotation of the Earth and all of these irregular movements to keep the navigation systems accurate. The time signals that you hear on the radio, they're kept in sync with the rotation of the Earth through these measurements with the radio telescopes.
So you can say that without radio astronomy, you wouldn't be able to have a reliable GPS.
Indeed, of course. And there's general relativistic effects. So Einstein general relativity is required for GPS to work. Special relativity. Fundamental application of astronomy. Timekeeping, keeping the calendar in sync with the seasons. So harvests, when you plant, when you harvest. That's an integral aspect of astronomy to maintain the calendar.
It's really nice to see applications of astronomy to our daily lives. Yet another example to the list that we had last time.
Yeah. So when Øyvind was coming to understand the signals that we were processing, one of the things he was amazed with is just how weak our signals are, that the quasar signal is buried in noise, that only maybe 1 part in 1,000 of the signal coming out of the radio telescope is the quasar, and the rest is noise from the receiver, from the atmosphere. But that we could still dig out this signal by comparing it between telescopes. All this background noise is different between the two telescopes, and this faint signal from the quasar is common. And if you integrate over time, you can pick out that common component. And as a musician, he's accustomed to very high signal to noise. So he found that a very beautiful thing, that that mankind had techniques to deal with signals that were that weak.
I think that's amazing, and that's something that common people don't understand, how difficult it is to detect those signals from space that take so much time and travel big distances, millions and billions of light years to reach us. And they lose energy as they travel through space, because they go through different objects, right? As we talked before in the previous talk, they will go through a cluster, they will go through gas, so they lose energy. And yet, with our sensitive telescopes, we are able to detect this, and not only detect it, provide something to humanity that without it, it cannot function in a modern world, like fly planes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It's fascinating that there's some interesting paradoxes there as this universe expands and things are redshifted, and where does that energy go? The energy is lost. Or another aspect that the question of Olber's paradox, why the sky is dark at night, and you can tell something about cosmology from that.
I heard about that one. That's a very interesting thing to think about.
So while we're on this aside, the problem is if you imagine an infinite universe with stars going off in all directions, then whatever direction you look, your line of sight will eventually land on the surface of a star. So you will see stars in all directions, and the whole sky should be as bright as the surface of the sun. It's like standing in a forest and you see tree trunks in all directions. But the sky is dark, and ultimately the solution to that is that the universe has a finite age. The further you look, the further back in time you look, until you see to beyond the time when the first stars turned on. And lucky for us, when you reach that distance, the sky is not yet completely covered in stars. So you're in the forest, but you're seeing past the edge of the forest before your sight is completely blocked by tree trunks. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist. So,
and this question has first been asked like way before we were thinking about the whole Big Bang theory and stuff,
yes.
Right? So it's very interesting.
That dates back. Anyway, we're a bit off the track from the from the sonifications.
Don't worry,
but it's fun.
It's okay. We like discussing astronomy, but we're also very interested about this project, which turns radio data to music, right?
Irvin.
I'm not saying it very well, so why don't you tell us? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So Irvin took a number of aspects of our data processing signals from when they came out of the telescope right through to the end products of the Earth motions and presented them in music in different ways. Mm-hmm. He's made an installation in the Mapping Authority headquarters in Trondheim where he strings these end to end, and they're played in an area of the building so that you can hear the different aspects. So I show here a photograph of the corridor where that's played, and is using transducers on the glass. That building is closed. It's for the employees of the building, but you can hear it on a live stream on the internet, and I've got a web address there. There's also an app that you can download on the phone and hear the live stream. And he's given a TED talk on the project, and there's a link there for that. Mm-hmm. So there's
maybe we can put the links later on the chat so people can see it. Right?
I have the links available. I can do it now, but just to say that I have already shared the live stream on our advertising, so people can find it on Facebook. But I will just not here. I will add it on the chat too, so people can have a look.
Okay, thanks. So I'll present one piece out of that. And this is the rotation of the Earth. So we took 30 years of daily measurements of where the pole of the Earth is and what the length of the day is. And he's converted this into music. As the Earth turns faster, the pitch goes up. As the Earth turns slower, the pitch goes down. As the position of the axis of the pole goes left and right, the sound shifts into your left ear or into your right ear. And as the pole tips away and comes towards you, the sound becomes more open or more closed, like a ow sound. So I have a graphic here that gives an indication of how the Earth rotates, it precesses, it nutates, and as where the rotation axis goes through the crust of the Earth, that moves around in a spiral on the surface of the Earth, moving around by 16 meters. So maybe at this point we could listen to the sonification and listen to the Earth spinning in space. This is 30 years of Earth rotation compressed into about 30 seconds of sonification.
Is this a sonification we have, right? So
Yes,
we will play it. I'm very interested to listen. Okay, so let's listen.
Yeah, I'm really excited now too.
I think you can feel free to tone that down now if you wish. So it
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
It sounds like a lonely Earth spinning through the blackness of space.
Yeah,
It's
it
amazing.
sounds like the Earth spoke to me. It's
Yes, exactly.
it's exactly that.
When you know when where the sound comes from, you try to make the association, and it's
Yes.
fantastic. It's also what you said, how to identify the different characteristics of the sound. If you don't know where the sound comes from, yeah, it's a bit like Halloween or from the opera house, and I think it's
Yes.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
I find the most striking component is the pitch variations, and I'm seeing in my mind the wind blowing against the mountains and the ocean circulation changing. And this is just amazing forces at play. There's a lot going on in the Earth.
Yeah, I think I heard like the fast changes between left and right ear. So
Yes.
you had that, and then on a bit larger time scale, say you have this pitch change, and you hear both at the same time, and you can imagine like how the Earth changes, like both temporally and spatially. This is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, the Earth is not as a rigid body that we're standing on. It's not a rock. It's moving around.
Great. So I thought you had some more slides.
There's one last slide. I
Yes.
leave you simply with an advertisement for the app, the VLBI Music. That's it's got a string of many different sonifications, different aspects of the data, plus graphics that go with it.
Good. If you can share your screen again, so we can
Yes.
see it.
Couple of steps to do that.
Oh, I think I will go download that right away.
Okay. I think we haven't shared on the live stream the links, so I will share in my private capacity now. Now you will know my private name, or maybe not. I will go through another account. There you go. So also the audience can click on these links and find the application on the. Is it for iPhones or for Androids? What is it for?
Should be for both.
Ah, fantastic. That's very good. I will, as soon as we finish, I will download it and listen to more. I really enjoyed this opera song, and I will have it playing on the next Halloween. As Wagner.
It's such an interesting approach because normally everything that we see, all the data that we have are visualized, right? We have look at plots, at graphs, and whatever. And this is just a completely different way of not looking at it, but you know what I mean.
Another that was acoustic was the LIGO detection of gravitational waves in the press conference when this was played, the sweep up of the in-spiral of two black holes merging into one as heard by the LIGO detector. That sent a chill down your spine. For me, it was as if you were sitting in the detector with ears that were 4 kilometers across, and you're feeling the ripples on the space, and you're able to listen to the whole universe. This was just fantastic.
Yes, exactly. That's really amazing.
And there are other songs, right? Many other songs, different types. Is that correct?
In the sonifications, yes. From the VLBI data, the data arriving at the sampler as from the quasar coming out of the receiver, the sampled data, he slowed down massively, and you could hear the individual bits arriving, and that was remarkable for thinking that you were actually hearing the data, the signal itself arriving. For Irvind, an amazing aspect was that he was dealing with a signal that had started on its way to us before the Earth had even formed.
Wow. Yeah, and that is a very important point to understand, that these objects are so far away, right?
Yeah. They've seen a lot of history in that telescopes are like time machines. The further away you look, the further back in time. It's very convenient for us that we can see how things actually evolved.
It's like a window to the past, right?
Yes.
And we can make a music of that past, which is fascinating. Wow.
He made sonifications how the telescopes move, which was like a choreography, pictures going up and down. So the telescopes move around a network of quasars, and depending on the position, north or south, he produced a pitch, or east-west. And
that's what you played during the Astronomy on the Couch event, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
that's much more musical rhythm.
Yeah, this is available to watch on the website. On the website of Astronomy on Tap, so you can find the recorded live there, and you can watch it, and also the relevant links. I think you can find all the information. If we are missing any links from what Alan has given us, we will post it on our social media, so you guys can go and have a listen for yourselves on your free time.
So follow us on Facebook so you don't miss out.
Not only on Facebook, also on subscribe on YouTube, say everything. On Instagram and Twitter, we have everything. And we have also TikTok. Don't laugh, it's true. And we have TikTok. It's not crazy yet, but it can become very crazy. So follow us also on TikTok.
If you're watching this now, the subscribe button is very close. So you can just subscribe to our YouTube.
That is a valid point. I think if they don't subscribe, then we're very sad. Very, very sad. Yes.
And you do help us a lot with doing that. And you don't miss out on any of the videos that we put up.
Yes. And you can find, as I said before, Alan has given us a talk before on his other project about how to turn this solar power plates to use them for science, right?
That was a really fun idea. This using solar power towers for radioastronomy. So the idea, I hadn't known of the existence of these before a colleague came back from Spain. These things are enormous. They're flat plate mirrors, 10 by 10 meters on a side, spread over an area of maybe, this particular one was 600 meters across, but they go up to like 3 kilometers across, all reflecting the sunlight up onto a tower. And during the daytime, they collect the solar energy and make electricity. And at nighttime, they're lying idle. And the thought was to make the world's biggest radio telescope by putting a radio receiver on top. And then you have like 3 kilometers of collecting area.
So go and watch that talk by Alan if you haven't done that yet. It's here on our YouTube.
Fantastic. I think we have a question from the live chat that we missed, right? Okay, I'll try to... Yes, we do. How is the speed-up factor from the Earth's real motion to the music we heard? Oh, okay. Yes.
So the data were measured over 30 years, and what we heard there ran maybe a minute. So the speed-up factor is just the ratio of those two.
Mm-hmm. So 30 years of monitoring the Earth, right, to produce a 1-minute song. Wow.
The pitch variations are magnified. The variations in the length of day are like a millisecond in 24 hours. So that's a pitch change that you wouldn't hear by the ear, but it's been magnified in this sonification so you can hear it.
That is amazing. And it's also fantastic how you collect all this data many decades to produce music. I find it fascinating, and it is truly art. You know, I think it's a bit romantic if you say it. That and it goes with the nature of astronomers. We are also a bit of romantics, thinking we can detect phenomena that the human brain cannot understand, and you know.
It's fascinating to get another perspective on the world around you in a way that you don't see.
It's also good to interact with the public this way, you know. I think to produce art through astronomical observations is a very good tool to bring people closer to science, to understand that what we do may have applications, like what you said, the GPS. And we had another talk at some point, another sonification presentation by, I'm sorry, my brain has stopped working. Oh my God. I am really sorry, I forgot. About I think it was the Mercury transit.
Yes, Mercury transits.
Yes. I will blame the Corona situation and that I don't remember anything. Days feel like months. But so we have many examples of sonification.
I think it was Paul Hombach doing that. Right?
Yes,
that's it.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to remember his surname. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry to Paul.
I think he will forgive you.
Yes, and so there are many examples of using astronomical data to produce art, and I find it fascinating, a very good way to communicate with the public. Yes. Good. I don't think we have any more questions, but if the people from home want to ask something, you can always contact us on our social media. And if we cannot answer it ourselves, we will ask our speakers in private, and we will provide the answer with you, to you. Felix, anything more?
Nothing really, but do subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on social media. You cannot say that often enough.
Yes.
And thanks for sticking around, everyone. So.